Okay.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
Just gotta quickly change these settings because I want to have them for the future. Cool. Streaming software. Seems good enough. Cool. Okay. So last night I couldn't fall asleep because I was playing around with this V0 model, and it's pretty wild because I was so tired that I didn't give it much. I was very, very generic, and it was still super helpful. So that's what I'm going over right now. I'm probably going to chop this into a video, but basically just said, hey, I want a daily duties web app. Add daily duties as to-do items, make it look like things 3, make it rearrangeable, right-clickable. So it gave me this. Pretty cool. Basic stuff, right? But it's pretty smooth. So you can see that it has framer, and I can rearrange, and it has all that. And then after that, I said, you know what? Let's see what this thing's capable of. And I just kept going. So I said, all right, let's put a daily schedule next to it because I want to be able to add these. And then I want to be able to move them onto a schedule. At first, it was dumb, right? Where it's like giving me this like drop down clicky thing. And then I say, that sucks. So I just go through these iterations and I just keep asking it for more stuff. I'm like, make it dark mode. Make it so I can one click a new event and then it animates. So I don't have to have this like lame doctor's office-y looking interface. And, 20 minutes later, I end up with this, which I think is pretty cool, where if I put it, let me make this a little smaller, where I have basically mocked up the homepage for the app that I'm building, where it has health and activity on a double axis line graph. So it has both the steps with all the step counts on the left, and then your sleep with the sleep hours on the right. And you'd see that for the week. That's just mocked. And then you have the weekly goals, daily duties, and the daily schedule. So when you sit down to do something, you typically like try to figure out like, well, how am I going to plan my week? Like, what are the things I need to get done? And so all these things ladder down into the hours that you put into your day. And I wanted to make it feel like a video game. So if my weekly goal was to, let's say, launch this page, then I'd put that. And so one thing that I added that I thought was cool, but literally not writing any code, just asking it, was make something cool. Like, make the entry for the goals, the daily duties, and the daily schedule more interesting. And it gave me this, which I think is pretty cool, where you have this outline. And so if I click that, I mean, that's wild looking. Like, it looks crazy. And so I could say, okay, launch or add this homepage to map. Now it's added that. Great. And then it has a timer. How much time is left in the week, I believe. Like the business week. Not sure if that's right. Then you have your daily duties. So, okay, well, what do I need to do today in order to make progress towards adding this homepage? Well, it's super meta, but I need to break this page into separate components. I'd also need to wire up the data into our actual DB. I'd need to do a couple other things, right? I need to figure out server actions. I need to figure out the mutations. So there's all these things to get it to go from here to a production app. But another cool thing I asked it to do is, I want it to go from being just on this duties thing to actually calendar event. And so you just hit this arrow. And that's cool. Like that would be such a pain to write code for. And then you could just add another event. And so this here was the start of something cool where you can kind of like fling these things around. It's not perfect, right? But it's got a lot to it. And another thing I added was like the year progress. So there's this bar at the bottom that's just showing you how much year there is left, which I think is pretty cool. One thing I will say from using this, you can see there's a lot of scrolls and it gets super slow. So then I started a new one. I just went over here, grabbed the code, went over into a new one, pasted it, and it automatically does this as a snippet. You can see I'm getting errors because it started using libraries that were different. But I said, hey, make it look and feel better. And I kind of went through another iteration. So now we're maybe like 35 minutes into yapping at this thing. By the end of it, it gave me the broken out components. Now, I won't open that one up. I'll open up the version 6 of it. And this is what I kind of ended with, which I think is really cool, where you have the weekly planner. It's got the health and activity. I'm thinking of having this concept of having the data for your goal right there just makes a whole lot of sense to me. And it's really easy to add these connectors. So in my case, I want YouTube growth. I want sign up growth for my SaaS. I want all these things. And I shouldn't have to go anywhere. It's basically just bring it all into here. And so for me, it was YouTube growth. But I can imagine how this homepage will have a bunch of connectors with APIs that reach out and maybe a bunch of different buttons where it's like, hey, if your goal is around content and growing a brand and driving traffic, attracting consumers to your brand, then you'd want those platforms to be able to connect to. If your goal is around health, then you'd want to be able to connect in the different APIs for that. So maybe it's Strava, maybe it's Apple Health, whatever it is. So I could see that being something that's maybe a drop down where you have the connections and then we tie like experience points to it. So I think like you see this on LinkedIn, which is just the worst app ever. But it's like when you're signing up for a profile, it's like, hey, good job. Like you did it. You signed up. You're 10% of the way there. Now write this boring cover letter for another 10%. But I think that concept stands true, where if you can execute it properly, then it's really cool. Where I think I used to play this game called Guild Wars, and I was obsessed with it. I had like thousands of hours playing this. But one of the things that it kind of tricks you in these video games is the experience. And, how do you take some of these patterns? Like if I look at this UI on Guild Wars, this is cool. It's like I'm this bear character, and I don't even have it pulled up. I'm this bear character in the game, and I have this bar that shows me like relevant information. Maybe I have like a health bar or experience bar. I have this like mystery notebook thing at the top right. So I think a lot about like how do you take the kind of addictive nature of these video games and bring that into SaaS and bring that into software that's traditionally so boring, like it just sucks to use. It doesn't feel like a video game. And so that's kind of where I'm thinking when I'm making this stuff is like, how do I take this, which is okay, like this is what people would expect from software as a service, but how do you make that feel cool? And so I think bringing in a lot of those inputs of all the things that you care about makes a lot of sense. I think having a co-pilot that you can talk to, because some people just don't even know their goals. Like, it's tough. And so they might then know their goal, but then they're bad at breaking it down into like, how do I do like one input item towards it? Like, what's the actual like thing, the verb action that I have to do? And so anyways, ended up with this, and then I wanted to like add theming because I was curious, like how does this V0 give me theming? And so it just does it. So I have like disco, Nyan, cat, posh, dialed in, and crack. I just thought that was a funny name. But it ends with this. And so on this stream today, I have like this little planner. This is how I always code. Is I set a little plan of the high level, what I want to get done in the session. Of course, I do have, linear, and there's the actual tickets in there and like specifics. But for a session, I'll look over that, and then I want to write down what I want to get done. So it's bringing this into the homepage of Map, which is my SaaS. So I would go in and, quickly scribble out, like, what do I need to get done? So we already brought in the big component because it wrote it as one. And now it's a matter of like breaking them out. So break out into separate components. And it's super meta because soon I won't have to use the same thing because we'll be building that. We'll be building a floating action kind of thing like this. I think I actually wrote down the list of them in here. But just to back up, like I basically, I made this thing. I just kind of jammed in V0. And then when I feel like I've hit a wall with what it could do, because all of it's going to be client side. That's another thing to notice is all of this is client. Can't really have server stuff as far as I could tell. It starts to run into issues. So when I do hit that wall, then it's like, all right, let's pop open the trusty cursor and get going. So what I did was I made one component, and then I said, hey, let's break the component out into logical pieces so we have one for, and then I name them all. So certainly, that sounds smart. And then it gives me all the names of the different sections. One thing that I won't be very good at is because it's coming from all client and a bunch of fake data, because, you were working in V0, it's going to lean on using like hooks and more fake stuff. And you just have to be aware that like you're going to take this and then make it work for your project. So in my case, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I will be using Supabase for mutations. So anytime I want to change data, I have a folder, and then I have a directory for each kind of section. So the calendar has all this stuff in it, right? Like all these actions. But there's like cookie cutter like queries, and then cookie cutter mutations. So making a new folder for this makes sense. And I think I'm going to name this just Planner, because the homepage, I think I'm going to end up just calling it Planner. And so I'll do that, and then I'll do the same. Did we do that for migrate? Oops. Mutations, we have Planner query. Let's make Planner. And then each one of these would be a CRUD operator. So for the reads, they'd be, get to-dos, get quarterly goals, get all those things. And then matching it to the shape of the database. So in my case, I've already kind of started there. And so I have like this folder in here, somewhere, types, database types, and then you can see how it's kind of all like set up. Or if I typed in like to do, I think it's tasks actually. So I have tasks and I have tags. So I might edit this a little bit, or I might just use it because it could make sense. I already have one for goals. Yeah. So we'll break this into separate components. We'll set up the flow of data. So it's like mutations, queries, server actions. I use server actions for anything that is server side, obviously, but then if you wanted to do something that has like complex business logic in it, then I kind of use that as like the rule for using those versus like making a bunch of custom queries. So break into separate components, queries, mutations, server actions, DB changes, question mark. And then that's really like the high level of the session. So let's see if this thing's still working. Live stream. Oh, I have 2 people. Hello. Hey, bro. Can you help me make a hospital management system schema? What do you mean? Because I think, are you talking about like database? Because in that case, what I do is you kind of always, like I've learned this the hard way of like building the UI out and then like working backwards into the database. But what I recommend for setting up databases is get a rough idea of like what the user experience will look like. So if you're just like scribbling it on a page or whatever it is, that'll kind of show you what like what you need, what data you need. And then you can just jump into any LLM and kind of explain it, and it should help you kind of shape that out. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. And then let's see. This is the first time doing a stream, so it's cool that people are here, but I just don't know like where the chat is. If I can get like a pop out chat. Pop out chat. There it is. Close. Cool. Now I have a chat. And I'll put it off the screen, but I can see it. So let's get to work. I'm gonna stop yapping so much. Okay, so Daily Duty was the original one. And so I have it all here. Like, luckily, this is already running. So most of it works. Test. Cool, test. But it's all in state. So if I refresh it, yeah, it's gone, right? So let's work on breaking these out. So Daily Duty has everything in it. Productivity flow indicator fuels your... Okay. So the next step is I basically opened up this control panel, yapped at it, told it what to do. I'm going to hit accept all. Theme context at context.themes. So you didn't provide a constants / theme file. An important piece too, anytime you get like new outputs, is actually read them. Sounds silly, but we need to make sure all components from daily-duty.tsx are broken into separate components. Read through all the components in the planner/components directory, analyze them, and ensure that we have all functionality ready to go so that we can use the page.tsx for the styling and the layout, and then we'll use layout.tsx for fetching data. See how that goes. Ooh, misspelled it. Okay. Need the progress bar, so pick that up. It's making a use planner data hook or set of hooks for state. So let's see what it did. Brought in a theme provider. This actually seems right. Cool. So I'll accept those changes. It's got some imports that are wrong. It's because we have two theme providers. And there's two theme contexts. Grab the theme provider, which is here. Theme context. It's weird because it's just a theme within a theme. So it's pretty abnormal, but it'll be cool. Cool. Okay, get the themes right. Social media dashboard. That should fix that. YouTube growth chart. did the progress bar. So just kind of like picking these off. Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's, I forget what it's called, but I can look real quick. I think it's called like Atom, but it looks good to get because it has certain dots that you get used to. Like I used to be the guy who changes it every 3 seconds, and then you never get used to it. It's called symbol icons. Yeah. But in this case, like API is red dot, and then like your providers have different stuff. Just looks better. So there are stuff. There's like themes and icon sets and all that stuff that are like super minimal, but then you don't gain much. Like they don't actually tell you what's going on. Whereas like this one's been really helpful for me. Yeah. So where were we? So yeah, we're just going through. We're like basically taking the V0 project, bringing it in, and then deleting stuff out of here as we build them out. For people that are just joining, it's this like weekly planner thing that I spammed V0 for in like 20 minutes, and it made this cool thing. It's like kind of 90s vibes. But yeah, it's going to end up pulling in health data for my step count from Whoop with the Whoop API, sleep data from also Whoop, double axis line chart, so that's cool. And then YouTube growth via the YouTube data analytics API. And then weekly goals with this cool thing, tests, whatever, add it, cool. And then I hit this arrow, so now it's a duty or like a to-do that's associated with that. I can add more, and then I can move them over to the schedule. So it's like this waterfall effect, and now we're bringing that into an actual project for my SaaS. The thing with V0 is it just makes a giant component, has no server stuff. It's nice for making like one-off components, which is what I did. Basically jammed a bunch of components in one. And so I know that I have this themes thing already as constants. Yeah, that's in there, so I can delete that. I know that I have the progress bar. One thing I like to do is I use this outline so I can kind of like rip through the file and see. And so I'll close this out. I think we have all the types in one spot, I believe. If not, it won't really matter because I'm not even going to use these types. Yeah, it looks like I have some types in here. Let's go back into the daily duty. It looks like that should be in the health activity. Yeah, it is. Cool. I can delete that. The hours array should be in the daily schedule. It is. Cool. Can delete that. The year progress bar, that's good. Delete that. Floating note. Yeah, that one's good. Delete that. And then this enhanced weekly planner, this looks like it's the actual like full thing. So this is where all the state logic is. So this should probably be my suggestion for a Flutter app is don't use Flutter. Literally did a startup that used Flutter, and I wish I didn't. And then in a startup that worked, we used Flutter, but I still wish I didn't. Go native. It'll always feel like crap. Create daily duty. Yeah, so use planner data. This needs all the functions. That's okay. So types and functions. So what I did is I have this planner, notepad, and cursor, and I added all the files, so I don't ever have to do that again. Use planner data, themes, planner layout. Cool. And then in a composer, I can get rid of this. I can go planner, scroll to the bottom, and then double tap command and start yapping. We need to pull the types into their own file from daily-duties.tsx, as well as all of the functions in state, and put those in our hook. Cool. Okay, that just went away. So what I'll do, analyze daily duty. I think that's, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's the course rules, then just do it. But, yeah. Then I'll just do this at do not omit any code. Okay. Cool. What I've noticed too over time is the AI is only as helpful as you are competent. It's like if I didn't know how this stuff works, it's not going to be helpful. So you still have to know. Okay, so that's ripping. Kind of put that to the side. And now it should just blast this file with a whole bunch of logic. And one thing that's going to be funky is themes within themes. But we'll see. Did it do the types? I don't know if this is all of them, but I don't even know if it created it. Home/types. Don't see him. Okay, now it's going. Cool. Whole bunch of state. Oh boy. Okay. It's a big hook. Okay. And let's see, is it removing that? It said extract, so I assume it's going to take it out. That's fine. Yeah, sometimes it fails. It's weird because the second time it worked. Cool. Also, if it ever does this, then you just kind of make it float and then make it open again. And it usually looks fine. Okay. Looks like it pulled out all the functions, which we don't really care if they're in there. Seems like all those errors are gone. We need to get framer motion in here. Just some imports. Type. What is type? It must be a icon. Context is a client component. Grandpa developer. I don't know what you just gave me. You gave me 20 ARS. I don't know what that means, but it, thanks. I literally don't know. Is that currency? ARS currency? Oh, you gave me some Argentinian pesos. Thank you. Oh, that's 20 cents. Hey, thanks. What a wild thing. Grandpa developer and you're Argentinian. I'm a proud Argentinian peso holder now. That's funny. Someone just gave me pesos.
It's so
Isn't
nice.
that random? Thanks. Okay, cool. So, thanks for the pesos. Bro, use dark mode. You use dark mode. I'm gonna use light mode, okay?
You do normally use dark mode.
I occasionally use dark mode. I use dark mode at night. I'm next to a nice window. You see this lighting in here? Like, it's kind of bright. I do have dark mode. This is what I use at night, but whatever. I'll listen. I'm a great listener, so can't believe people are even watching this. Who's in here? Let's see. Click. 8 concurrent view. Who are the 8 people in here? How did you find me? This is cool. 8 people. Wow. It's like more friends. It's like, yeah. Anyways.
You say you don't have even 8 friends?
That was the joke. All right. So now that we have 8 people in here, I'm going to start shaking. Someone sent me freaking 20 pesos. I got 8 people in here. This is unreal. We got dark mode going. Everything looks kind of okay. We're still working on breaking this into separate components. This weekly goal thing. Biome is a great thing, but it also sucks. Because it's just so relentless. So we have these. I actually like this look better. This dashboard better. Let me see how. Just a bunch of cursor nerds rallying around you. You bet. Hey, it's Dom Mafia. You wrote a comment. I can't tell. Were you the one who wrote a nice comment or a mean one? Because I don't remember, but I remember your name. I'm assuming it was a nice one because you're here. So I'll send you a penguin, a waving penguin. There we go. All right, cursor nerds unite. Yes. So let's keep going here. I want this thing to work. So how do I have this set up? I just have it as a planner component. I don't know if that's smart. Floating note. I'm trying to stick to this pattern that I have on the actual calendar page. So if I go to calendar, and right now I'm trying to get drag and drop to work, but God, that's so broken. But the way that I have it set up for this calendar, which, boom, that's a real calendar, is the page.tsx has all the. It's like kind of weird, actually. It's like reverse. I have calendar / page.tsx. This is just the kind of layout. So what I also do is I'll do like add comments, because anytime I go work on something, I try to do this afterwards, so that anytime it's referenced by the LLM, it's a lot quicker. So yeah, this wraps the entire component. This is just layout, and then layout actually does the fetching. The reason why I'm showing this is because I'm going to copy this same pattern because it works. React server components for the win. What am I building? I'm building, let me just show you real quick. So I'm building a health and productivity platform. And so it's called Map. And the way that it works is basically like, instead of using all these productivity tools that are in your dock, like your daily drivers, everyone on the planet uses Google Calendar or some sort of calendar to manage their time. They also use task management. They also use project management and a Notes app and all these different things. And I've used them forever, and I just want them all in one spot, and I want them driven by the best version of myself. So how do you get the best version of yourself? You figure out what your goals are, and you train an LLM on those goals. So whether that's health goals or professional goals. So what it looks like, it's actually just this platform that has a bunch of the apps in one spot. And so it's got calendar, tasks, notes, health. In previous versions, I had it all kind of working, but it stubbed out. So now getting the calendar to have basically like full feature parity with Google Calendar is what I'm doing now. Not in this live stream, but that's one of the priorities. And then the homepage is getting the kind of all the like stuff you care about. So in this stream, the idea was, all these screens that I built in V0 are just dumb. Like they don't actually work, right? It's just like client components, but it's cool because it's like a double axis line graph. It's going to have your health data coming in from Whoop. We'll do Apple Health soon, but yeah, it's basically like this will be your homepage where you can type in what are your goals for the week. If you want to tie in the actual tasks that you need to do that are associated with that goal. So if I said I want to launch this homepage into Map, then I could hit boom, what are the actual things associated with it? It adds an association. I think the UI sucks, but the idea is there because you basically have this waterfall of like, here's the high level goal of what I want to get done. What are the things I actually need to do in that day? And then when are they going to happen? So it's like a conveyor belt. So this is what I built in like 20 minutes. I didn't even build it. I just yapped it in LLM and made these stupid themes. But I'm taking this and then bringing it into Map. So on Map, I showed you that a second ago. I was like the calendar and all that. But making the homepage super versatile and helpful, and that requires bringing in that massive one file component, breaking it into modular components, and then making it work with our database, mutations, queries, server actions, yada, yada, yada. And so the idea would be that you just have one spot to go to. You set your goals with it, and then in the future, there'll be a co-pilot that represents your peak self, that knows what your goals are and kind of stays on top of you about them. So if it is a fitness-related one, because we'll have biometrics data, because it's live, if you have a scheduled workout and you don't go do it, it's like, yo, get up and go do the thing. And same thing with work-related goals. So there'll be an API for pretty much everything. So it can know. And it won't be like the way I'm positioning it is it's you. Like it should be like this app should feel like a mirror where it's like peak version of you. Okay. So where were we? Streaming and working is tricky, by the way, because like I want to check the chat and then I get like thrown off. So that's that. We have the home page, which we're going to call planner. We have a one planner component, which I don't think I like this. I think I want to grab the rest of the growth chart. We have this one already. This one's quite nice. Yeah, so we're going to throw that out. We don't need that. Do we have themes? Yeah. Themes look like they apply. Cool. And they only apply within this thing. Cool. We don't want it to say enhanced weekly planner because who the hell wants that? That's there. We don't need a title. Or do we? Actually, let's make this the current date. I just love time, so I put time everywhere. Cool. Now we have the time. It looks kind of bad, but whatever. Let's make this dashboard dark mode friendly / theme friendly. So we have social dashboard, and we're gonna add this to a new chat, and we're gonna say implement the themes from, and then we have that context / no, theme context. If you're confused, reference how the other files do it. Example, and then we can just do health activity chart. Cool. And then continue. No, bug. Lost my chat. Whoops. Oh god. One thing with cursor, it's buggy. So what I'll say is apply the theme from @theme provider. If you're confused, check health activity chart. And then I'll just. I'm also way faster at this when I'm not streaming, but I'm getting used to it. It's theme context. Theme to our social dashboard. Cool. So while it's going, we've pretty much done this first one, which was breaking out the separate components. Now we just need to make them work. So in our case, this floating action note, which you see from Raycast here, that's what we actually want to build within map. And I can't tell if I want it to be on every route, but I think for now I'll just have it on the home page. So we'll say fix floating note, change /home to /plan, and then we need to check all dependencies for /home, because I know when we do the initial first time user experience that we forward to that, so there's some checking that we need to check. That looks right, but let me just actually read it and then check how we do it here. So in this one, pass the theme hook. Cool. Are we doing that here? Yep. Is there anything else? That's literally it. And then you just bind. Boom. Boom. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Entire file. check the chat. Whoa. Explain the title of the video itself. I don't even know what the name of the video is. What did I name this? Coding my startup with V0 Cursor AI and Nextjs. Hey, we have 9 people. Good job, everybody. 11, never mind. Huh. Theme. Cool. That theme worked. The name of the startup is called Map. So the idea being that you have a map for your life. I want to build productivity and health software that makes life feel like a video game. And so it's like basically bundling all the different like daily driver apps, and then it's going to be powered by a Copilot that represents your peak self. And it learns that by monitoring your activity, figuring out what your goals are, all that. Plus is not defined. Explain the title. I think I just covered it, but yeah, I'm using Nextjs as the web framework. So backend as a service, or backend as a front end as a backend, with like server actions and whatnot. And then another feature I would add is location-based suggestions that lets you say, buy milk in the to-do list. The app on the phone might suggest based on. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Me and my fiance run into this where it's like you basically like buy the same stuff every week, and like you want to have contextual repetitive lists. Like there's so many things like that. Even with like routines, like, hey, you probably go to the doctor like once every 6 months. You probably get your teeth cleaned like once a year. There's all these things in your life that like should just be on autopilot. And so offloading that is a big one. Or maybe reschedule event to a new time, learning your routine. Yeah, smart scheduling is another one. I built a scheduler. It was like, it's pretty simple, but I'm not leading with that. I won't launch with that because I think it needs to be better than just like, like, hey, schedule this for that time. Like, I want to make it smarter. Cool, you're subscribing. Hey, thanks for subscribing. Cool. Let's keep going. Maybe I get into flow or I check the chat like every like 10 minutes. Let's try that. Plus is not defined. I have all these. Types /planner. Use planner data. That's deleted. We're getting some type errors. And then this plus thing. See, another, not, I don't want to hate on cursor. It's so helpful, but kind of wrecks your linting. Like it really confuses TypeScript basically. So I find myself doing restart TS server a lot. Calendar grid, that's not what we're doing right now. Cool. Okay. Everything looks decent. It has our funny little theme. Now we need to get this thing to work. And we need our badges. Badges look really weird. But this is a primitive, so I don't know if I'm going to keep this theming. So I don't know if I want to work on it too much, but the dashboard, all of these will hit different APIs, obviously. Probably not have the X one because X is expensive. But YouTube for sure. That one shouldn't be bad because I already do auth through Supabase with Google. So just be adding a scope. But we did this. Now we need to fix the floating note. So let's do that next. These type errors don't really matter in these semantic things. I mean, I kind of like getting them to go away. Let's do that. Test. That layout shift is just absolutely brutal. So let's make this thing usable. Theme icon. Where's the selector? The selector, we probably want to put this inside of a page. So let's just be lazy and do this. Let's reset to planner, tag, yes, and then analyze planner.tsx. Oh, that didn't work. Analyze planner.tsx and extract all logic such that we can delete the file. We probably want to have the theme selector be its own component, so we could do snake case theme selector.tsx with that, and then we will put all of the layout logic in the page.tsx. Okay. And again, because I have this notebook set up, I already added all the files, so it's going to know about other stuff. Okay. Let it rip. And then while that's working, I'll open the dashboard and I'll search for the text, which is social media dashboard. And I think it's hidden behind this. Great. Great. Yeah. We don't need that. Cool. We also don't need any of this stuff. Followers over time, that's fine. That styling looks a little weird. Okay, so let's see how it did. Did it pull everything out? There's the page. Date. Charts. Seems fine. Now planner should have no references. Where is that getting referenced? Oh, it didn't. Where did it make a page? Made a page somewhere that it should not have, it looks like. Yeah, that's weird. It didn't. Okay. Good. Theme selector. Good. Now, zero references. Cool. This setting, by the way, super helpful because you can just see like if there's dead code or not. So we can get rid of that, and then we can start chipping away at some of these stupid linting errors that we have, like that one. So in this case, I actually kind of like ga dot g dot work in progress planner page push, and then I will reload the window because it still thinks that there's this use planner data thing. Cool. Now it'll get out of the linter. Good, good, good. You wouldn't have lint issues if you dusted every once in a while. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Hi, Joe. What charting library are you using? I am using ShadCN, which wraps recharts. So that's where it's at. And it's really awesome to use. And I think I used it on this like crazy health stats thing that I built to see how unhealthy the world was. And this is all TanStack. This is a project I built to learn TanStack table. It has like live obese population numbers, kind of crazy. But yeah, this was using recharts as well. But ShadCN, basically, if you haven't heard of it, you're living under a rock. It just wraps every really good like library. And they launched charts recently, kind of recently. But yeah, that's what I'm using. It's nice. And then what I'll usually do is I'll like grab the docs and then throw them in the indexer. So in your cursor settings, if you haven't seen the video I put out about this, you can go and nerd out on it. But you just paste in the docs under features. So like always use snake case too because it's just better. Hey, what you working on? We're building a health and productivity platform to make you smarter, faster, better, stronger, all the above. So think every app that you use to get stuff done in a day in one spot and then powered by a model that's trained on your goals and your biometrics data. So you start with your goals, it's conversational. Yeah, it's called MAP, mapthemap.com. And so where were we? We have successfully taken this thing. Oh my God. This thing that I made in V0 by yapping. We've successfully gotten that over. Yeah, you are. You're totally living under a rock. Yeah, I know Warp requires sign in. I think, yeah. Like, look, if you want me to show you that I can use NVEM and just like flex on you a little bit, I can do that. I can flex. I can put the keyboard next to the keys and you can hear me flex with that, but I don't want to. Warp I like because if I don't know a command, I could just be like help. And it just looks kind of nice. Like I went to iTerm, I used Kitty, I've used all the things. But sometimes I just like going to Warp. But yeah, so we've successfully taken this into our homepage. Now we could flip it into Nyan cat mode, and that's super important. These areas should totally be able to click. Let's see if it works. Test. Let's see if I can test. Cool. Does it add to the schedule? No, it does. Oh, where is that? plus. There we go. Okay. Run. Okay. That's fine. I'm thinking we want to have it be like... Now I'm officially a stream bro. I'm drawing stuff. God. Okay, so I want it to be like this. Let's say double axis, line chart, sleep, and... What did I have? Sleep and steps? God. What did I even put in there? Yeah, sleep and steps. That can go there. Top left. And then we'll have... I don't know if there's anything in my health that I care about that I want to put there. I'll probably put the growthy stuff. Yeah, I'll just follow the same beautiful layout. That's fine. Yeah. Let's do that. So I am going to need to put that inside of the card. So why is that card like that? Let's do some stuff here. Let's grab our health. Goodbye. We don't need that. Sleep. And steps. Does anyone here care about their steps? I blame, what is it? Whatever makes you go faster, I'm just surprised. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, now you got me really. Oh God. Oh no, what's going on? No, we're sticking to warp. I blame Primogen. Yeah, I mean, I don't use VS Code, first of all. I like to use Cursor because it's just like, I mean, it just deletes all this like plebe task stuff that you have to do. And then Vim, I am forced to use when I do anything on a server. So, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to know. I think for my next machine, actually, I'm curious. Does anyone here have, like, use Linux? Because I'm really curious about that. Like, I basically went to deploy the first version of Map, the SaaS I'm building right now. And it was just literally like a calendar with, like, AI attached and like a notes app too. And I did the math on what it would cost to Vercel. I was like, that just seems awful. Like, I need to figure out how to not do that. So then I watched like every DHH video. I don't know if anyone's like familiar with his latest meme, but yeah, you do that and then you watch the Peter Levels podcast where he explains the web industrial complex, which I think is totally accurate. And so, long way of saying that Vim is kind of required when you're gonna be provisioning and managing your own servers. And luckily, there are tools that make it easier, so you don't have to like run. As far as I know, you don't have to like by using Camel, which is DHH's kind of orchestration software. There's just like less stuff that you have to do. But yeah, knowing Vim it's the jam. There's so many things in Vim that I wish I had in here. Like I really wish I could just have all the like AI stuff from Cursor in Vim. Because Vim is so much faster, and using a Vim emulator on top of Cursor is just the worst. Like it's no bueno. So let's see. be really lazy here and just say copy styling / flex of the following screenshot. Horizontally aligned to the social media dashboard, and so that quarterly, weekly, daily tasks and daily schedule are all on the same row. Okay. Grab our beautiful mock. Gosh, so nice. And then yoink. Let's see what this does. Yeah, 100%. Using Vim and anything besides Vim is stupid. It's so slow. Like, it's depressing. Okay, what's this doing? Flex gap 6. Yeah, it seems fine. Let's test. Cool. All right. Now we have all that. However, I think that this should be a lot smaller. So yeah, we'll do that. Throw the dashboard there. All these fake data points, fake news. Match cursor. Let's see. Let's do. I want this. These should be equal in height. We want the toggle to be on the inside. That should look okay, I think. So add the journal back. Planner. If you miss it, when you make a notepad, you just put all the context in there. And then I'll do match. What do we think a good height is? Probably 400. Yeah. Let's do min height. This is not going to be mobile friendly, but none of it is. So let's make the height like 350. Make the height of activity of health 350px. So that'll be the first one, and then we want to actually, I'll put that second because it'll be relying on the first, and then I'll say move the platform tab lists, which is Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Why I say what he means is when you do GD to go to definition, it should take you to the definition of whatever the thing is that your cursor is over. So like, if you're calling a function in one file, and you want to see like where is this and what is it, where is it declared, you just do GD, and then it navigates you to that buffer. And that's another thing with Vim that's sick is it's not like you're digging around in a tree of files, because you kind of know what's going on all the time in order to use it. Like you double tap your leader. So some people use like spacebar. So you do spacebar, and then it opens up the files that you've interacted with. Similar to how like I have open editors. Those are just buffers. And then you would just kind of like navigate around in those. So that's what he means. And then just like things like Command D and Command U make you jump up and down the page. You have DAP, which deletes the paragraph that you're in. You have YAP, which just yanks the paragraph that you're in and it highlights it too. There's just like I wish it had the cursor stuff, because, yeah. Platform tablets on social dashboard inside of the card. Cool. Make the height of this. Resize the charts, line charts, so that they're the same. One tip too with cursor, any sort of LLM code gen stuff is like, I'm doing stuff that's like small little changes that are kind of related, right? Like you could see like, oh, like do this one style thing, do this one style thing. I won't go and say, hey, now change all the logic too, because that's when it just goes off the rails. So like the next one I'd want to do is be like, hey, after you do these first two things, change it to a bar chart that's dual axis, but I'm gonna not do that yet, because I just want to see like, will this even work the way I want it to? So I'll fire that. And I'll say this literally every single time, but please just read what this thing outputs before you blindly hit accept. You'll thank yourself for it. Okay. $350, cool. Follows the config. That, I mean, this should be like really simple stuff, right? You can check the diffs, yada yada yada. What's weird is it didn't. Did it do anything? Yeah. Oh. Don't hit accept either. Hit save. Whoa, funky. So now, what did that do? Did it not? Did it save all? So what I'm thinking is the reason these are styled differently is because one of them is probably using just a div that's styled, and then the other one's using a primitive, which has its own styles. So those are probably conflicting. Let's see. Test. This right arrow is not supposed to refire it in here. So there's some sort of event handler issue going on there. Looks like my daily schedule broke somehow. So got a lot of bugs. Seems fine though. When you guys watch streams, do you like prefer if people play music? So that's one thing I was wondering. Like, I usually play music when I'm coding, but I don't know. Let me know. 193 views. We had 21 people in here at once. What? Why? It's crazy to me. Just watching me make a chart. I love it. Okay. Your stream, your rules. That's fair. You're a smart guy. You know that? Have you ever made iOS app before? Your stream, your rules. LOL. Me too. Me too. I listened to some crazy Moroccan hits. Send me a Moroccan hit. I want to. We can throw that on. Let's get down on some Moroccan. I know nothing about Morocco except that I think it's called shakshuka, the egg dish. That's all I know. Oh man. The coolest app idea that you have had and built. Good question. Not necessarily the most useful, but the coolest. I think the one I'm currently building, honestly, like otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I think it's like anything that makes you feel like if you've ever played video games and you see how that like dopamine cycle works, like I want to replicate that for real life. So that's yeah. So it's called Map, but that's the coolest thing I've ever worked on, which is what I'm currently working on, and it's an interesting challenge. Have you ever made iOS app before? Yeah, I did like a speed run on iOS like Q4 last year. I actually made these things called GPTs for devs. Yeah, so I made all these like library specific GPT things. So like if you click it, it just takes you to ChatGPT with like the a detailed expert trained on all 5,558 pages of Apple Core data, and then it has all these suggested questions. So yeah, definitely have spent time with iOS. Best I've done with it was with a company that I was early at. We did like 47 million a year through our iOS app. It was a food delivery company, but I didn't write that code, and it was in Flutter, which is crazy. It was in Qt and then Flutter, so I don't recommend doing either of those. And then I did build like some version of like a basic to-do app to kind of learn how this stuff works, but I'll do it in React Native most likely. Yeah, I was asking about Linux because like I'm wondering, just general. I mean, you must like it if you're using it, but I just want to know more about it. Like, really thinking about getting that as the main machine next, and then just finished making my first app, and it's stuck in review. Yeah, welcome to Apple. Literally, for this company, delivery dudes. So for this company, which got bought, but I spent like a bunch of my life working on this, we had an app, and we didn't process payments through it. Like, kind of crazy. Like, we would literally just, you'd order the food through the app on iOS, and we had no capture until you got there with a credit card machine and took it. And then we added payments with Stripe, and we ran payments. We ran like millions and millions of dollars through our app. And then one day, in one random update that we submitted with something that had nothing to do with payments, Apple was like, hey, you have to have guest checkout. You can't not have guest checkout. Of course you need guest checkout in order to be on our app store. And we're like, did you even check the code? Like, what are you talking about? We haven't had that. We've had payments forever. We just made an update about something totally different. We had like a banner for marketing, and they just blocked us. And it took like 3 weeks because then we had to go build it. And they're like, our bad. Like, we should have noticed. And that same thing can just happen. Like during the pandemic, we were in a special category of apps for food delivery. Is technically an emergency service. And so we got expedited reviews. But if you weren't one of those, like in that like lucky club, you just get wrecked by Apple. And they take 30%. Like, that's a significant amount for any company. So, yeah. Sorry that you have to deal with that. But iOS is, I mean, the App Store is kind of like known for doing that. And you really can't do much about it except mitigate your risk. Like, the best way is basically to have it as like a companion app. That's why I started in iOS for Map and then realized like, I'm just deleting my margin by focusing on this first. And you have no control over the shareability of it. You have no, I mean, the open web is awesome because I can just direct traffic. I can play the game of content. I can play the game of generating attention and optimizing conversion funnels and all that stuff, like making genuine stuff that people can find. That's not the case with iOS. It's like you can have an awesome app and no one can find it. And they'll say, hey, you need to figure out App Store optimization. and it sucks. So I don't recommend going that route. Like, go build a web app and then have a companion app. Deal with all the payments on web. That's why you can't buy a Kindle book on the Amazon Kindle app or Amazon app. It's because they don't want to give that 30% haircut to Apple, to Big Timbo. So sorry you're dealing with that. It's no fun. Yeah, you pay $99 a year for the ability, the privilege to be on the store. It's just like, it's ridiculous. And you notice this too, like anything that is critical, mission critical to an app, like a login, like a company like Stripe, it's one of the most valuable privately held companies. And they don't even do like a native login screen. They have a web view for that because, God forbid, they have some issue with the login, then they can change that on web and ship it. And I think Expo's doing a lot of work in this space where it's like going to make it better for devs, where you can do like, basically like you can toggle stuff in the app by not pushing a new update. And that's been around to some respect. Like even when we had our Flutter app, there was like something in Firebase that we could use to toggle things. But yeah, I think I'm going to take a break because it's been an hour and a half and I am hungry. But this is awesome, and I appreciate everybody jumping on. We got a good headway done. I said I was going to bring all the components in from this, break them out, get the functionality working. Mostly there. I'm still learning how to like code and stream at the same time. It's kind of a funny thing, but I think by the end of the night tonight, it's only, let's see, it is 5:37. I'm not in New York. I'm in Florida, but I think by the end of the night, I'll have most of this stuff. I know I'll have all the design working perfectly because it's like nothing, but I'm really excited to actually start like plugging this stuff in, and then having it stored, because having all this context is going to be sick, and having it all work will be great. And then the Copilot will know about it. And I'm curious, like, how it will work. Like I see it where whatever is relevant to your goal that has outside data, which most goals do, then there should be an API that map is hooked into. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about that, where I wrote originally an engine in Hono, and it was a total waste of time besides the learning, for basically just like aggregating and normalizing data. So if you had a bunch of different health providers, like Apple Watch versus Strava versus Whoop versus Aura, it would take that in, it would standardize it, make it all type safe. But I ended up doing an adapter pattern because it's just easier and I didn't have to have like a separate thing. And so what I do there is you just basically have, like for Google Calendar, in that case, you have 6 different resources. So you have ACL, which is access control list, with all these different methods. You have calendar list, you have calendars, you have channels, colors, events, free busy, settings, all these different resources. And each resource gets its own directory. It has its own client as a singleton. It has its own DB operation. Client operation wrapper that I use. It's like a utility function that makes sure like all the logging's dialed. And then for each one of these methods, there's a different file. And that way it's like just real simple to wrap the whole thing. It's not rocket science. But with that pattern, I'll end up doing that same thing for Whoop, for Aura, for all the health providers and biometrics providers. But then also, like, if you have work goals, like I think a lot about the inputs that you can like you can control your inputs. So if I have like a work goal around getting this out, getting this product out, I know that that's the outcome, but the inputs of it are the hours that I need to put into working. Well, how do I track that? Well, I need to start tracking the hours. Can I do that through a PID on Activity Monitor? Does existing screen recording software like Rise, do they have an API that I could hit? I probably wouldn't want to use that, honestly. Probably build that in house, but stuff like that where it's like, instead of this drop down being here, there might be some progress bar, some like collection of like badges that appear based on the connections that you have, because the more information that's being kind of put into the system, the more effective it will be, the more context it'll have, similar to how you're coding and you give it all this context to accomplish the goals that you have for your coding goals. You should have that for your life goals, and then it can be more helpful, be more proactive, and all that. So that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you haven't subscribed, go subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.